Hello, all. This is Lindsay Gordon. I'm a career coach for analytically minded people. And today I have an incredible pleasure of hosting a conversation with my friend Derek Strokon, who has become a published author today. So, welcome to my community. Welcome to his community. And I'm so excited to learn more about his book and the process of writing it. So, I will bring up Derek.
Oh, hello. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm doing so well. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you.
Oh my goodness. Congrats on becoming a published author
Awesome.
today.
It's a real book. It's so cool.
Yes, show us the cover. Show us.
Yeah.
Show us.
So here it is in all its glory with words and everything
Oh,
inside.
oh,
So
I love it. So it's
it's
called
awesome.
Stop Stalling, Start Selling. Got to get those in the right direction. Don't
That's
want to miss them
correct.
up. And the place to purchase them for anyone who is watching later is youdon'tneedtoreadthis.com.
Nice.
All right. So we are both in this process
Yeah.
together in this group called the Inspirational Book Writers. And we haven't known each other for very long, but
No.
it's been fascinating to see how quickly our friendship has grown
Yeah.
through this process. So talk to me about what has the process of writing this book looked like for you?
Yeah. It's really interesting because I've had the question, how long did it take you to write the book?
Mm.
And there's three answers because it took me 25 years to write the book,
Yeah.
but then it took me 3 years to write the book, but then it took me 6 months to write the book, and like 40% of it took me 3 days.
Wow.
So, um,
Yeah.
but I guess the story behind it was that about 3 years ago, I started writing down chapter title ideas, and I just kept a little Excel document or a little Word document, and I'd just write potential chapter titles in this Word document, and I'd save it on my computer. And the reason I did it was I'm like, oh, here's an experience I went through. This is a really good, easily relatable story that could help other people who are in a sales career, right? Like, we learn by doing, and it's the only way to learn, right? Time is the only way to, right? It's the best teacher.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is I was like, well, if I collect a whole bunch of these, then I can take my 25 years of sales and I can put it into one book, which is going to take somebody a couple days to read. So I started this about 3 years ago, and I think I ended up with 87 potential chapter titles
Yeah.
in the book. And what it did was it narrowed it down to 48 chapters plus an introduction, which is one of the stories. Plus I have a really impactful ending to the book that a really good friend of mine wrote. So what we ended up with was 50 really impactful short stories that all have a sales piece to them, whether they're a leadership piece, whether they're a sales leader piece, whether they're an individual business owner piece. They're very right? They're cross boundary in their messaging. My sales career comes from an automotive background, from a restaurant retail background, and from a financial services background. So a pretty broad spectrum, and there's stories from each of those kind of parts of my life that come into the book, but they all play into each other, right? They all tell the same, right? They all tell a
Yeah.
story that is universally applicable in any industry. So
Yeah.
I started actually writing about a year ago,
Okay.
last July, actually. And I figured one day I'm actually going to do this. And I thought, well, what a great way is I'll start posting stories on LinkedIn,
Okay.
and I'll just post one every 10 days or so. And it took me from July to March to write 10 stories.
Mhm.
And I started getting some really good response from them. And people were like, wow, we like your writing. Wow, like it's so clean and so simple and so like it is not a cerebral read. It's a
Mhm.
super, super easy, digestible right? Like
Yeah.
it's chocolate ice cream kind of reading, like just sit down and enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to think when you're reading. So
Yeah.
then I met somebody who was part of, or had a friend who was part of Inspirational Book Writers. Her name's Kathy Sove, and her book comes out in 13 days. So that's
Yes.
amazing. So the three of us are all September launches, which is cool. Um, but she said, well, why don't you meet Dave? And I said, wicked, I would love to meet Dave. I had one 40-minute chat with Dave, and I'm like, 100% I'm in.
Yep. In.
And I
Yeah.
joined him, that group, in kind of end of March, start of April. So now in like 5 months, we've gone from 10 roughly written chapters to like a full actual book in print. And honestly, like the 3 days, I think I have to look back at it, was either 14 or 19 of the stories that I wrote in 3 days. And I
Wow.
just took an intensive time, and I sat down and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take 3 days and I'm going to write, because I knew that I had a deadline. And I think
Right.
one of the, aside from like the group is so supportive, right? Our weekly meetings of getting together and talk and get to know
Yeah.
each other and support each other and help each other when everyone's like, I'm feeling down, or I'm feeling crummy, or this is not working for me. And
But this is
having,
terrifying.
right, having that, but having a group of people that we're all doing it together makes it less scary.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, I've got my friends with me, so I guess I can keep going.
Yep.
But I think the second piece was that they know the next step.
Mm.
And I think that's probably, like, that's one of the biggest things that kept me hesitant from writing over the last 3 years, was I'm like, well, what do I do once I have a Word document? Like, how does that become a book? And having their expertise and guidance on understanding, that's how everything, right? Like, they're like, here, we're doing cover design, and then we're going to do this review, then we're going to do this review, then you're going to Amazon, and then you're going to be a bestseller, and then the real work begins.
Wait, it's
Yeah,
not over? No, it's just beginning.
yeah, it's been a really interesting timeline.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been great.
Wonderful. And I will tell you, so I started reading it last night,
Nice.
and I know there have been questions about, like, is it applicable outside of sales? Do I want to
Right.
buy this book if I'm not in sales? And for people that don't know me, so I've been in 3 careers so far: engineering, technical support, and career coaching. And I could not put the book down.
Oh,
I definitely, like, was reading it really late last night
awesome.
because I just wanted to keep reading, because as you say, it's really, they're short, they're light, but they're so thoughtful. And I think, so yes, there are definitely lessons about sales in there, but I think from me, as somebody who's outside of sales, it's also lessons about humanity. It's lessons
Right.
about how we want to treat people. It's lessons about who we want to be in our
Cool.
lives. And we are also selling in all kinds of different ways, even
Yeah.
if you are not in an official sales role. So that's what
Yeah.
I would say from my perspective. Is it has been such a delight to read and just to hear the
Oh,
stories of your life as well.
thank you. That's,
Yeah.
it's such a vulnerable thing to do. And I know, like, you're going through that same journey too, going like, these are your words, and now other people are going to go, I love your words, or maybe they'll say, I didn't like these words.
Yeah.
And
You shouldn't have said
just the
that, you know?
vulnerability of putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
But I think it's exactly true, right? Like, everything is sales.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I have an amazing wife. That was my best sales job of my life, right? Was convincing her that she should be with somebody like me.
That's right. Did a great job closing that one.
Right. Yeah. Yes. And I convince her every day. So
Yeah.
sometimes she needs more
Yeah.
convincing, but
So, yes, so I would
but
say it is life lessons
right. Well, thank you.
from stories of sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, like, that's the whole message behind the book, and the subtitle, you don't need to read this book, but you should. I think, to me, when we think about, there's sales books out there that go, if you do these 3 things, you're going to be a millionaire. And you're like, it's a bunch of crap,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's not about 3 things, it's about doing 3,000. And it's
Yeah.
about that continual incremental improvement of our skill set. And that's where I thought, well, if I can take my stories, and if some of them help, right? If 10 chapters are impactful, then that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Because I think honestly, a lot of these chapters probably could have been drawn out into their own book. Because there's some chapters that you're going to read and you're like, oh, I'd like to know more about this. Like, I wish there was more meat on this one, but the message gets across.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the important part, is like, let's just,
Yeah.
let's do it. Let's get on with it. And I think that's the stall. Like, let's stop stalling.
Right.
Like, just get going.
Do it. Now it's your turn. Go out there and do it. I think
Right.
it's going to be interesting for you too to see which stories resonate with
Right.
different humans, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody is going to have like, oh my gosh, it was chapter 9 for me. Oh my gosh, it
Right.
was chapter 27 for me. And that's going to be so interesting for you to see how you are impacting people differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any one that's kind of like jumped out for you so far?
So when I was watching your Facebook Live earlier, you talked about the highest highs and lowest lows.
Yeah.
That's something that I've said about entrepreneurship, and
Right.
that one wasn't passed down to me, so I'm like, oh, clearly it was in the ether.
Right.
So that one really stands out to me as like my
Okay.
experience of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I think that question that you have business owners ask themselves
Oh,
about kind of
would I
the
hire
work in a
myself?
day. I'll let you share more, but that one was like, wow, that is a question I would like to ask myself more often.
Right. I think honestly, it's the best check-in. So the concept, to kind of explain this,
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, it's really hard to understand how good you are some days.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not whether you closed a sale or whether you didn't close a sale. It's not whether you made $5 or $5,000. That's not the measure of success. Because sometimes you can lose $5,000, but does that mean that you're a crummy business owner, or does that mean that there's just other circumstances around you that play into this concept? And you can you could work 5 minutes a day, or you could work for 14 hours in a day. And which one shows you who the better business owner is? Well, it's really impossible to measure that, because that's not one of the metrics.
Right.
And I think so often we try and use that metric. Oh, well, I worked so hard today. Well, would you hire yourself? And that's where that question came in. And, in the financial advisor world, most specifically, where the advisors I worked with were all self-employed, that would be one of the big questions that I would ask them, and to help them understand whether they were having an impact in their business throughout the week. Because you can sit in your office and check email, or you could rewrite an email 6 times, because no one's ever done that before.
Nope.
That takes 2 hours. Well, I was really busy today. Okay, well, what's the thing that we use as the metric to judge ourselves by? And so I came up with this question to go, if you had to hire yourself to do your job, do you deserve to get paid? Did you earn your keep? Right? Would I have hired myself to do my own job today?
And I feel like it just like immediately calms, right? It like takes out the chaos of like, yes, but emotions and the energy of it. And then you're just like, nope, this is just, did I do the job that I would have hired myself for today?
Right.
So I love it. I feel like it just flattens the whole thing.
Yeah.
And helps you really focus. So,
but I think it's so hard as an entrepreneur to go like, how did I do today?
Yeah.
Really, right?
Really
like,
hard.
And some days you have to do nothing. Like, some days you just take a break, and you need a pause, and you need time to recharge and rewind. And like, we weren't designed to go and work 8.5 hours with 2 15 minutes and a half-hour break.
Nope.
Right? Like, the human creative brain and sales brain, or entrepreneurial brain, or even functional sitting in an office doing your task brain, does not function properly when it is put to task that frequently, right? Like if let's rewind 200 years and go, if you took somebody 200 years ago and said, sit at this desk for 8.5 hours. Like we're not designed to do that yet. Industrial revolution and our change and our focus on success and going, okay, well, you make X dollars an hour, so I better sit there and whoosh, right, like get the most out of you for that time. We need to rest. That's another one. It's a story that I tell about the ski hill. So because we live at a ski resort, and it's funny, on a side note, everybody goes, oh, you're so lucky to live at a resort. And I'm like, oh, cool. Let me tell you the secret. And it's realtor.com. And it shows you all
you can have this too.
It shows you all the places that are like, there's a house right down the street from me that's for sale right now. And if that's the life you want, then come live it. Sorry, sidebar,
that's
but
awesome. I love it.
The story about the last day of the year, and we have a really huge ski season and we have a really huge mountain biking season. And in between we call it shoulder season, and it's a common term, but there's basically 6 weeks between winter and summer and winter where the mountain just closes. And everybody goes home and the businesses shut down. They keep one restaurant open. The hotels basically shut down, and everybody takes a breather. And, in that chapter, we talk about rest, reset, and refocus, and that they're so impactful. They're so important for us to do, to go, you need the time to breathe. Right. And like part of this story comes in to say, at the end of the season, everybody goes to the top of the hill and you do a race from the top of the mountain down to the bottom of the mountain. And you start on one ski and all the other skis are in a big pile on the mountain. And you've got to go sort through this pile and find your ski. And then, so it's hilarious, right? Like there's people who sit on the side and they throw snowballs at you. And then you get down to the pub at the bottom. You've got to ring the cowbell as you go through.
That's amazing.
And they've got like this big, like open pit that they fill with water that people do like backflips into. And then they've got DJs on scaffolding, and like the music's pumping and the bars are going and the patios are packed, and it's, it's mid-April. So it's usually sunny and warm. And the neat thing was because we live here, the next morning I went for a walk in the village and there was nothing. And the village was quiet. And the banner on the scaffolding had been, half ripped off, but it's quiet. And the patios are empty. And there's, some people who forgot to bring their skis home because they couldn't balance on the way home. Right. But like there's random skis in the village and they're just kind of lying there, and the chairlifts are stopped. But it's such a important
juxtaposition.
Remember to do in our daily lives. Like you need to rest and you need to reset, and then you refocus on going, okay, well, what comes next? So
there's so many books on that topic that need to be written too.
100%.
So I know you're doing a bunch of events for the weekend, kicked off last night. You've got fun stuff going on today and tomorrow. I have a feeling that it's going to go incredibly fast for you. So what I would love to ask you is, what do you want to remember most about this weekend, this experience? If we can put it in a bottle that you can like check in on every year and be brought back to this moment, what do you want to remember most?
I think I'm proud of myself. And it's a vulnerable thing to say, but there's a lot of hype. Like even like the Amazon bestseller ranking, we're number 1 in 3 categories in Canada. We're the number 1 paperback in Canada in consulting. Number 10 in the US right now. Number 4 in Australia. But a lot of that is part of the show. right? And I just finished a Facebook Live, and then we're going to do an axe throwing thing, and I did the farmers market yesterday, and like my books came honestly just in time.
Oh my
They were
God.
supposed to be here last Tuesday, and they got here yesterday at 10:30, and I had to be like set up by 2:30, so I had like 4 hours to spare,
Wow.
which was wild. And
Yep.
but like all of that emotion and all of that energy and
Mm.
all of this energy, I think I want to sit back at the end and just go like, I'm proud of myself. I made my kids proud. I made my wife proud. I made my family proud. I made my clients proud. I made myself proud.
Yeah.
Made my mom and dad proud.
That's
And
incredible.
I think that's going to be the feeling that I want to hold on to. That if I could bottle that part of it,
Yeah.
is just go like the day after we got the proof copies, so not the official ones yesterday, but we get these proof copies that we get to find all our grammar errors, and I know there will continue to be lots that I will find
Yes, me
over
too.
the coming
Yep.
months, which is cool, but it ties so much into the title too, right? Like
Mhm.
just get it out there.
Yeah.
But the evening after we got the proof copies, my kids are 8 and 10, and they came downstairs and they said, Daddy, we instead of our Berenstein Bears, instead of our stories or Owl Diaries, instead of that, can we read your book
Yeah.
instead? And I'm like, dude,
That's
like
it.
if no one buys this book, I'm good.
Yep. That's it.
And
And yeah.
the
And
neighbor's kid, he's 11 and he finished the book already.
wow.
And I'm like, that part matters,
Yeah.
right? Like those are the impact. And it just,
Yeah.
I think like I've gone on such a journey since leaving the corporate world at the end of January and starting Sacred Line Consulting, and now incorporating the business and building a coalition of other coaches, and working on a TED Talk, right? There's so many pieces of my life that have evolved, and it's really interesting because today's my 45th birthday, which is we just decided that would be a fun day to launch because it'll make it really memorable. But
Yep.
right, like you draw that line in the sand, and I'm like, okay, well, here's 45. Well, what happens here, right? What's happened in the
Yeah.
next 45 or less
Yeah.
or more, right? So like we're definitely right close to halfway mark.
Yeah. And
And
I think one thing that I see that's so important too is in the who you're being. And
right,
it's who you're being for yourself and the
yeah,
actions that you're taking. You are not stalling in your life. You are making a lot of choices to live, in the mountains
right,
and
yeah,
to make this book happen. So it's who you're being for yourself, but then also who you're being has all kinds of impacts on the people around you, whether that is your kids seeing you do this courageous and vulnerable thing, or whether that
yeah.
is on your family or your clients. So I just want to really celebrate the who you're being in all of this too.
Well, thank you. I think like if I think of the quality of people that I have added into my life
Mm,
over the last 6 months has just been huge. And it's not it's not for lack of having amazing people. I have amazing people in my life, and I always did.
yeah.
But if I look at the quality of relationships that I'm building, like meeting you and just going like right off the bat, we're like, we get each
We're going to be
other, right?
friends.
Like we make sense. I want to put a
Yep.
temporary tattoo on for your launch, right? Like, but just to go like we connect, and
Yeah.
to go like you were in San Francisco when we met, and now you're in Vegas, and I'm like in the middle of the forest in
Yep.
British Columbia.
We're making
Um,
moves. We're
yeah,
living the
where else
life
would
that
we have
we
had that
want.
chance to connect? And I think that's part of the journey of what right, like what you're going through with your book writing,
Yeah.
to go
Yeah.
like it's a huge evolution of your individual self.
Yeah.
So
So because it's your birthday,
yeah,
I want us to kind of think about forward looking a little bit. So
yeah,
today's the first day of 45. If
yeah,
you imagine a year from today
yeah,
and everything that you had hoped for 45 had come true,
Yeah.
What would some of those things be if we want to just speak them into being right here
Yeah,
for this
for
upcoming
sure.
year?
I think it's going to be continuing to get deeper on knowing myself better,
Mhm.
on reflecting that and sharing that more with the world, because it's been really interesting. Like I haven't replaced my corporate income yet, but we're halfway to where we need to be. But realizing that the skill set that I have to help other business owners develop their practices, to help implement systems and processes, to help identify, right? That's the whole sacred line concept, is to go, what are the 15 words that define your life and your business? And to maintain a focus on those 15 words as the barometer, or as the lighthouse to help keep you going, or your guiding principle to understand who it is to be your most authentic and true self, and going on a journey from, I think, the focus on consumerism
Yeah.
that I think absorbs way too many people, but also how that expands into your professional work environment. To go, right, there's that relentless, there's another chapter in the book, it's called The Best or Nothing, but right, Lexus's ad, the relentless pursuit of perfection, and it's such a bunch of crap.
Mm.
Right, or Mercedes had their slogan, The Best or Nothing.
Yeah.
And where that slogan actually originated is from a really good spot. And Mercedes used to have that inside their factory wall, and it said the best or nothing. So it was a reminder to the employees that they've got, if they can't do their best job, then don't do it, because we have to do our best.
There's safety on the line. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're delivering a high-end product, and the people who are
Yeah.
buying this deserve our best. So let's be passionate. And that's a really cool story. But then they started using it as an advertising slogan.
Yeah.
And it became, that if you don't have a Mercedes, then you've got nothing. And I think just that understanding of how drawn and how committed and how stuck we are on that concept in the world right now, right? This relentless pursuit of commercialism, and understanding that the important things are our health and our relationships and our family. And so often in a corporate environment, those things get put by the wayside.
Yeah.
And like, I remember, this is a restaurant example, but coming into the restaurant, and they're like, leave your personal shit at the door. Right? You're here to be a happy server, and you're going to sell lots of steaks and ribs today and go make people smile.
Yeah.
And leave your personal things at the door. But that was a normal thing.
Yeah.
And we're starting to learn and realize that that's not normal.
And it's leaving people feeling incredibly hollow.
Right.
You only go after these external definitions of success.
Right.
And that's why I love that the book is not, here, go do these things that I
Right.
say you should do. It's like, here are my experiences. What resonates with you? Who do you want to be? What are you going to get out there and do? So actually letting people, figure out what works for them, instead of, this is the way we get success.
Right. Instead of mandating it.
Yeah.
And I think it was a big, like, the original title for this book was just going to be called Nothing. Or my original title design was bright red, and it had nothing on it. And it didn't have my name, and it didn't have a book title, and it didn't have anything. It was just a red book with nothing on it. Because really, in the end, the book is there to help you on your journey, rather than to try and replace your journey. And I think there's so much literature out there where people are like, you know what, go do this and go be something that you're not, right? Or go be an influencer, or go market yourself in
try to fit into this particular
Right.
definition.
Like the argument about, I
Mhm.
forget the gentleman who writes about this, but there was a friend of mine talking about the Lamborghini.
Mm.
And when we see a Lamborghini, you're in Vegas, so you probably, see them every day.
Yep.
But you see the Lamborghini drive by, and you're like, man, that's a cool car, right? Like, imagine if I had a Lamborghini.
Mm.
But you never look at the person driving the Lamborghini and go, look how cool that person is.
I want their life. Yeah.
Right. You're like, oh, what a, you know, what an
Yep.
interesting person.
So,
But you never look at the driver of the Lamborghini and go, I want to be that person. You look at the car and go, I want the car. Because if I had the car, then everybody would think I'm cool.
yep.
But you never look at the person and think, man, they're so cool.
I want to be them. Well, I feel like I'm going to have to let you go because you have plenty of other exciting
Okay.
things going on as far as this launch. So I just want to put the link up here again and encourage people as they watch this later to purchase. And if you do purchase, we would love for you to let us know in the comments because Derek would love to thank you and appreciate you for buying the book. So anything you want to say
in closing
before we leave?
No, I'm grateful for the opportunity to share my stories, and I hope they help. Like I really genuinely do. I hope they're of value, and I would love to hear, like, my contact information, my email, my phone number is in the book. Our toll-free number is in the book, but my personal email is in the book. And if you go to you don't need to read this.com, my contact information's on there as well. So
Love it.
yeah, just reach out to me. I would love to connect and engage and hear what your experiences have been through reading it. So, and thank you, Lindsay. Thank you for doing this. This is
Oh my
so
gosh.
gracious.
My pleasure. I would love to wrap up by acknowledging you for your courage, for your vulnerability, and for the contribution that you're making to people's lives. And I would love for you to just get to bask in that feeling of, I'm proud of myself for the rest of this launch process. So that is my gift to you. And then go have a ton of fun and sell a lot of books, friend.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.